Call the May 7th meeting of the Temple Terrace City Council to order. There we go. So welcome everybody. It's good to see everybody. I would like to make a little opening statement here before we begin the meeting. One is to remember to please silence your electronic devices. But the other is that we have a tradition here at Temple Terrace. Well, this is our third year. I guess it's a new tradition. Every year we donate for the Corpus Christi Catholic School fundraising gala. We donate for silent auction the opportunity to be mayor for a day, police chief for a day, and fire chief for the day. And people bid on the silent auction, and when they win, whoever wins that, their student gets to come and shadow one of the chiefs or me for the day. And so today we have two of the three of those are here. This is Lucas Ray. Lucas is the mayor for a day. He is finishing up the 5th grade and going into 6th grade at Corpus Christi in the fall. He's been with us this afternoon, going through the city, looking at the various departments, talking to directors and employees about what the departments do, what are the challenges of that, why those roles are important for the residents of Temple Terrace. We also have the police chief for the day with us. Jackson Carter is back there with Chief Albano. We'll talk more about him in a few moments because our mayor is going to give him a proclamation. So anyway, that's what's going on. So if you're watching on TV or you're here and you wonder who Lucas is, the mayor for the day, that's who he is. And we'll show him all the respect due as the office of the mayor, hopefully more than I get. Right? And so, if you would, please stand and join us for the invocation and the pledge. I'll say the invocation and you say the pledge. Lord, we ask your blessings upon our meeting tonight. Grant us wisdom and compassion to make decisions in the best interest of all involved. Help us to move our amazing city forward in ways that build community and prosperity for all. May our actions always reflect our core values of integrity, fairness, transparency, and empathy for others. We ask these things as one community, united in purpose for the common good of all. Amen. And now Lucas will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have another tradition in Temple Terrace that we began, I guess, about a year and a half ago, and that is that we begin each council meeting with a fun or interesting fact about the city of Temple Terrace or the region that we live in. And tonight, that duty falls on Council Member Gil Schisler.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. My historical fact for May 7th is related to music, specifically the origins of music in our area. The oldest record of professional music in Tampa Bay area is from the Peerless Quartet, who performed way down on Tampa Bay back in 1914. Then we have this. I'm going to give some just snippets before I get to the rest of my story. Ray Charles, who was born in Tallahassee and educated at the St. Augustine School for the Blind since he was 7 years old, moved to Tampa as a young man and lived in rooming houses down on Nebraska Avenue, where he wrote and performed his first song while performing in the piano bars of Nebraska. For those who didn't know it, Ella Fitzgerald got her start on Central Avenue in Ybor City. Hank Ballard wrote and recorded The Twist in Tampa. Stephen Stills of Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, he attended Plant High and Admiral Farragut Academy. Jim Morrison studied at St. Pete Junior College when he lived in Clearwater with his parents and his grandparents. Jazz saxophonist Cannonball Adderley was born in Tampa. Slim Whitman, a country music star, was also born. He was born in the Oak Park section of Tampa. A local kid in the 70s named Terry Balea was a bass guitarist with 3 local groups. He finally gave up on his musical career and decided and opted for professional wrestling instead. We know him as Hulk Hogan. A garage band from Ocala named the Royal Guardsmen recorded a song at the Charles Fuller Productions over on McDill Avenue. It was a song written by a Stetson law student. It was titled Snoopy versus the Red Baron. The group Blues Image from Ride Captain Ride in the early 70s, this group was formed in Tampa and featured a guitarist named Mike Pinera, who went on to play with Iron Butterfly and later Alice Cooper. Now, Temple Terrace. During the late 70s and early 80s, there were two competing Lutheran churches in Temple Terrace. One was Christ the King Lutheran Church, located on 56th Street, just north of where McDonald's is now, but south of the credit union, just a little off the road. Then there was Our Redeemer Lutheran Church on Druid Hills, at Druid Hills in Ridgedale. The churches negotiated a merger. I know my parents attended Christ the King at that time. Negotiated a merger, and the combined outcome was Christ Our Redeemer Church, which has stayed on Druid Hills. Well, the North Axe on North 56th Street, which had been a leased property, was vacant, and the owners eventually sold it to two brothers named Harold and Thomas Morris. The Morrises had been managing a mobile 8-track recording operation out of their van, and since like 1981, they were searching for a permanent facility. Well, they bought the North Axe, and they opened Morris Sound Recording in 1984 in the old church building on 56th Street. Some groups that you may have heard that have recorded there: Destiny's Child, Seven Mary 3, no clue, Warrant, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, we recorded, that got their start there. And as the 80s went on, the studio created a new following: heavy metal groups. In fact, Morris Sound Studios became known as the birthplace of death metal. That's after Abbey Road, so I have no idea what that is. And many groups have gotten their recording break at Morris Sound in the 80s and 90s. Some of these groups included names like Morbid Angel and Death and Control Denied and Obituary and Cheeky Monkey and The Outlaws. It was a group that they would record there, and they'd play the local bars in North Tampa. As the death metal craze died down, the studio went on to store the equipment for Trans-Siberian Orchestra when they weren't traveling. And then finally, the brothers, one of the brothers died and passed on, and they ultimately sold the property to a company called Wolf's Lair Properties. Not sure what's going on there now because it's all locked up, but. There was quite a wide range of music genres in Tampa, but Temple Terrace was the birthplace of death metal. In fact, 3 weeks ago, the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners voted to erect a historical marker on 56th Street, which will commemorate the studio's contributions. I almost forgot one thing. There was a Dutch immigrant named, I'm going to mess this up, Andreas Cornelius van Kujic, who entered the country illegally, I might add, in the 20s, and bounced around the country for a while before ending up living on 409 Park Ridge Avenue. That's between Bonnie Bray and the hole number 11. He worked for the county at that point with animal control before he entered the music world. You may know him as Colonel Tom Parker, who was the manager for Elvis and Slim Whitman, who I had mentioned earlier. And now you know the rest of the story.
Wow. Good. Mr. Schistler, I can take that one off my list of future ones my turn. Thank you very much. So, the next item of business is the Mayor for a Day, recognition of Police Chief for a Day. So would you please call Jackson Carter to the podium, please?
Jackson Carter to the podium, please.
Well,
Maybe alongside it, Chief.
yeah, where'd you go?
There you go. That's a little better. Welcome. Thanks for being here. You have a good day being police chief for the day? Good. All right. Go ahead, Lucas.
With appreciation to Jackson Carter for his service to the City of Temple Terrace Police Department by serving as police chief for a day on April 25th, 2024.
Very good. All right, let's take that down turn.
Big smile. 3, 2, 1.
His camera.
1, 2, 3. Thank you.
All right, well, we got him. Any family members? Family members want pictures from up here?
One more.
All right, let's stand just like you were a minute ago.
One more picture.
There we go.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Now you sit over here. The next proclamation concerns our mayor for a day. Lucas, would you like to stand up, please? In support of the Corpus Christi Catholic School Gala for Giving event this past March, the City of Temple Terrace donated the opportunity for a student to serve as honorary mayor for the day. Lucas Ray was gifted the opportunity by his parents. Mayor Andy Ross agreed to share his authority as mayor of the City of Temple Terrace with Mr. Ray on a temporary basis on May the 7th. Mr. Ray has completed a survey of the city, learned about our style of government, interviewed directors and gained knowledge of their duties, and enjoyed a pizza party with elected officials and staff. I, Andy Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim Lucas Ray as honorary mayor for a day. Let's give him a round of applause. Thanks for being mayor.
3, 2, 1.
One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Daddy.
Family?
Thank you.
Thanks for all you do. Here, wait. See, that don't look so easy, but Joelle and the team have been telling me for 3 days exactly what to do. It's taken that long to. Okay. Next item is Historic Preservation Month, and so our Historic Preservation Board, Sherry Donahue, is here. If you and your colleagues would like to approach the podium, please. Hello, everybody. Good to see you.
Ready here?
Proclamation reads, whereas the National Trust for Historic Preservation established May as Historic Preservation Month in 1973 as a way to promote historic places for the purpose of installing community pride and encouraging heritage tourism. Historic preservation is an effective tool for promoting sustainable development, revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, promoting tourism, and maintaining community character. It is important to acknowledge and celebrate the benefit of history, architecture, and archaeology in our lives, and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that has shaped the city. In its efforts to emphasize the importance of historical preservation in the city of Temple Terrace, the City Council adopted a historic preservation ordinance on August 15th, 2023, and created the city's first Historic Preservation Board on November 7th of 2023. This year's theme is People Saving Places, to celebrate the dedicated residents committed to preserving historical sites, buildings, and landscapes, and to recognize those who are volunteering their time on the Historic Preservation Board to help preserve our historical landmarks. Now, therefore, I, Andy Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim May 2024 as Historic Preservation Month. And so, Sherry, would you like to say a few words?
I would, of course. Thank you. My fellow council members are here. And we are not sure if everybody knows or not, but we were actually granted on the first application. Our CLG government application has been approved. And so now it means that we are actually ready to go. And with that, we've mailed a letter to all the residents in the city who own these 1922 homes and invited them to a council open board meeting at the Lightfoot Center on May 22nd at, I believe it's at 5 p.m. Now, you don't have to live in a historic home to come. I live in a 1950s house, so it'll be a while before I can even think about it. But definitely, please, we invite everyone to come and to attend and see what it's all about, and maybe dispel some of the myths about what it's about and encourage people to apply. So thank you for recognizing this group. We're here to serve.
Thank you. I think you're missing one, right?
We are.
Okay.
She unfortunately, her mom was ill tonight, and she could not attend.
Okay. Well, thank you very
Thank
much.
you. I think we're going to go up there for a photo op.
Bigger move.
Scoot over this way.
Yeah, you want the seal behind you.
Okay, so you should be like right here in front of my nameplate, not you, Margaret. There we go.
Perfect.
We can follow directions.
3, 2, 1.
Ready, 1, 2, 3. All right, gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I would like to call Tiffany Beltran to the podium. Tiffany is our aquatic supervisor at the Temple Terrace Parks and Recreation Family Recreation Complex. And this is in proclamation for Water Safety Month. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, long time no see.
Yes, yeah.
Whereas the City of Temple Terrace is committed to providing water safety education to all residents and visitors. According to the Florida Department of Health, Florida is ranked the highest in the U.S. for drowning death rate among children ages 1 through 4. Annually, deaths in Florida due to drowning among children ages 1 through 4 are enough to fill up to 4 preschool classrooms. As a community, we understand the essential role that protecting our children from accidental drowning is everyone's responsibility, and understand the vital importance of providing access to water safety education and programs to families and individuals of all ages. We recognize that it takes a collaborative effort among all groups within the community to be advocates for water safety education. Water Safety Month is an opportunity to promote water safety and provide education on the prevention of recreational water-related injuries, illnesses, and deaths. Now, therefore, I, Andy Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Water Safety Month. So, Tiffany, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, thanks again for having me. With May being Water Safety Month, Leisure Services, along with our community partners, have put together a series of videos and tips about how to be safe in and around the water. These topics range from swimming pool barriers to boating safety. So please turn in to the City of Temple Terrace Facebook and Instagram page to receive those tips every Friday and Monday, and keeping our kids safe around the water.
Thank you, Tiffany. And I have to tell you, folks that live in Temple Terrace and folks who may be watching that or live in Temple Terrace, we don't have a better ambassador to the public than Tiffany. If you go to the rec center at any time, she is always friendly and smiling and happy, and she's just the best ambassador for our residents there is. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
3, 2, 1.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite Telecommunications Supervisor Leslie Amy Hutchlet to the podium. Good evening. Seems like we had you here not long ago. Yes, this is a certificate of recognition for Public Safety Telecommunications Supervisor. And it reads, Certificate of Recognition. As an employee of the City of Temple Terrace, Public Safety Telecommunications Supervisor Leslie Amy Hutchlet has long exemplified a high level of commitment not only to the communications unit, but also to the city, other departments within the city, and the community. Ms. Hutchlet has continuously distinguished herself by consistently going above and beyond in all aspects of her job performance. Seeing an internal need, Ms. Hutchlet volunteered to assume the roles and responsibilities of Communications Training Coordinator, attending the Department of Health meetings, applying mandatory curriculum updates, and revising and or creating multiple training exams, quizzes, and study guides. Ms. Hutchlet is an incredible asset to the Temple Terrace 911 telecommunications unit. Not only is she an exceptional 911 dispatcher, but she is also an excellent team player who puts forth energy to improve the work environment and morale. Ms. Hutchlet has always taken her role as a 911 public safety telecommunicator seriously and embodies the role of being calm in the chaos when the need arises. She participates in discussions with supervisors on attainable changes that could improve operations. For her dedication, efforts, and actions, I'm proud to announce that Public Safety Telecommunications Supervisor Hutchlet has been awarded the 2023 Public Safety Telecommunicator of the Year, and that is on behalf of myself and the entire City Council as well. So, very congratulations. Would you like to say a few words?
Just thank you to my officers, my firefighters that help us get through all the calls, and my team that I couldn't do it without.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you inch over like a little bit? All right, perfect. All right, 3, 2, 1.
1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Would Sergeant Tandra Mihalopoulos approach the podium, please? Good evening, Sergeant.
Good evening.
I know you're thrilled. I can see it on your face. This is a very significant achievement, and I can't think of a better person to receive it. So. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the certificate of recognition for Sergeant Tandra Mihalopoulos. She is the recipient of a very distinguished award. It is the 2023 Thomas L. Lewis Police Officer of the Year Award. This is a very, very difficult award to achieve, particularly when you work with peers who are as distinguished as the officers in our police department. So, Sergeant Mihalopoulos exemplifies the organization's core values of courage, honor, and commitment, demonstrating dedication to her profession and the community she serves. In August 2020, Sergeant Mihalopoulos assumed the pivotal role of supervisor for the newly formed Community Liaison Unit. Under her leadership, the COU has become a cornerstone of community engagement and collaboration, serving the department and the city of Temple Terrace in multifaceted ways. Sergeant Mihalopoulos oversees critical initiatives such as managing all requirements and procedures related to the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act and serving as the liaison officer for all Hillsborough County Public Schools within the city limits and the Juvenile Assessment Center. Also, she represents the department in various capacities, including the Homeless Coalition, the Juvenile Justice Board, the Boys and Girls Club, Safe and Sound Hillsborough County, and numerous community organizations, demonstrating her commitment to fostering partnerships and addressing diverse community needs. Sergeant Mihalopoulos approaches her duties with professionalism, diligence, and a steadfast commitment to service. Her exceptional work ethic and passion for creating a safer and more vibrant community for Temple Terrace residents are evident in all aspects of her work. Sergeant Mihalopoulos has undeniably distinguished herself as a leader in law enforcement. Her performance, dedication, and commitment to service have made a positive impact on both the lives of those she serves as well as those who serve alongside her. Sergeant Mihalopoulos has undeniably distinguished herself as a leader in law enforcement. Her performance, dedication, and commitment to service have made a positive impact on both the lives of those she serves as well as those serving alongside her. We are honored to present Sergeant Tandra Mihalopoulos with the prestigious Thomas L. Lewis Law Enforcement Award Officer of the Year for her outstanding contributions in 2023. Would you like to say a few words?
You know, I get nervous about these things, so. But first, I want to give much thanks to God because without Him, I would not be where I am. I also want to thank my mom because without her, I wouldn't be who I am. So I really want to thank the person that put me in for this award because it meant that they actually saw me in the work that I've done either last year or within the last 17 years of being with the department. So it means a lot to me. I also want to thank the people that I work with in my unit because honestly, without them and their hard work, I wouldn't be here. So I appreciate it and thank you.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
1, 2, 3. You want to come take a picture?
One, two, three. All right, thank you.
Tell she's younger than us, the way she's handling both phones at the same time.
Thinking that.
Next is a certificate of recognition for Fire Captain Robert Harrington. Captain, would you like to approach the podium, please? This too is a prestigious award. It's not easy to win Firefighter of the Year either for the same reasons. You work with some pretty good colleagues.
Sir.
This is a certificate of recognition for Firefighter of the Year. Captain Robert Harrington is truly dedicated to the city of Temple Terrace and the citizens he serves. He began his career with the Temple Terrace Fire Department in November of 2012. Has distinguished himself by consistently going above and beyond in all aspects of his position. His compassion, professionalism, and respect for our citizens and visitors is evident both on and off duty. Captain Harrington exemplifies our agency's mission and core values, and his principles align with those of the Temple Terrace Fire Department. He maintains a proactive approach to continuous learning and training, prioritizing safety protocols, and implementing innovative measures to ensure the well-being of both the citizens of Temple Terrace and his fellow firefighters. Captain Harrington is recognized for demonstrating exceptional leadership skills in guiding his team through challenging situations and fostering a positive and cohesive working environment. His dedication to service and professionalism in handling emergencies and firefighting situations attests to his commitment to excellence. For his unwavering dedication, exemplary leadership, and commitment to the city of Temple Terrace, its citizens, and his many co-workers, I am proud to announce that Captain Robert Harrington has been awarded the 2023 Firefighter of the Year Award. Congratulations, Captain. Would you like to say a few words?
Just thank you to my chiefs, Captain Cable, and all my fellow firefighters. Good to do that. I appreciate it.
Very welcome. And I do want to add for the public that this is really at the pointy end of the spear here, to be the firefighter of the year at a fire department that is so highly acclaimed as ours. Our fire department has the highest level of accreditation that a fire department anywhere in the world can get. And I don't remember the exact statistic, but it's some small percentage of the fire departments throughout the U.S. that even have this. So we have an extremely prestigious fire department, and to get Firefighter of the Year in an agency like that is quite an incredible accomplishment. So thank you.
Thanks.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
1, 2, 3. Gotcha. Thank you.
Two more. Next is a proclamation for National Police Week. I'd like to invite Chief Albano to the podium, please. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening.
Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas 136 law enforcement officers in the United States lost their lives in the line of duty last year. Preliminary reports as of April 11th of this year indicate that an additional 34 law enforcement officers throughout the United States have already lost their lives in 2024. Temple Terrace police officers play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of Temple Terrace. Temple Terrace police officers unwaveringly support all people, safeguarding lives and property, protecting our community against violence and disorder, the innocent against deception, and the weak against oppression and intimidation. Whereas, since the first recorded death of a law enforcement officer in 1786, more than 25,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim the week of May 12th through 18th, 2024 as National Police Week. Thank you, Chief. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. Sadly, since April the 11th, 22 additional law enforcement officers have died, bringing the total to 56 so far this year that have passed in the line of duty. And I've got to say, I've had the privilege of being in law enforcement for 38 years. I'm in my 39th year. And the last 18 years that I've served in Temple Terrace have shown a lot of changes, a lot of increased scrutiny and difficult times for law enforcement. But in Temple Terrace, and the mayor says this often when we have our swearing-ins and our promotional ceremonies, we serve a fantastic city. that has time and again supported us. This council and the councils that have sat where you sit now for the past 18 years have done likewise. We have a phenomenal group of men and women serving this city, and we have a phenomenal city to police within. We're thankful for your support and their support. I would like to invite those that maybe would like to get to know a little more about their police department to go out to our Facebook and our webpage and look at the Citizens Police Academy opportunity that our Law Enforcement Officer of the Year is spearheading for us. We'll be on June 15th, and there's information out on the website to be able to sign up for that. And on May 13th is the virtual Law Enforcement Memorial at the National Memorial. So if you haven't ever had the chance to go to Washington to see that, it's an opportunity to tune in virtually and see the passion and the power of what this next week means to us in law enforcement, and maybe it'll help you understand a little bit more about us. So you have a national opportunity, you have a local opportunity. I encourage you to get to know your police department and its officers if you don't already have had that opportunity.
Thank you, Chief.
Three, two, one.
1, 2, 3. Thank you.
One more. I'd like to invite our Fire Chief, Ian Kemp, to the podium. Good evening.
Good evening,
Long
sir.
time no see. This is a proclamation in recognition of Emergency Medical Services Week, and I see you have a lot of your staff here, so thank you. It says, whereas this year marks the 50th anniversary of National EMS Week, with the theme, EMS Week, Honoring Our Past, Forging Our Future. And whereas emergency medical services are a vital public service, the members of the Temple Terrace Fire Department, both firefighter EMS responders, provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. Whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, medical directors, emergency nurses, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, educators, administrators, and others. And whereas the Temple Terrace Fire Department's EMTs and paramedics engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now therefore I, Andy Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim May 19th through 25th, 2024 as Emergency Medical Services Week. So Chief, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
I would thank you for the proclamation. I just wanted to remind council that back in 1997, the council made a very difficult choice by retaining our firefighter paramedics to be the sole transport of all BLS and ALS patients here in city of Temple Terrace. Prior to that, Hillsborough County ambulances sat in our stations. And it was a very difficult choice by council because we had to hire new firefighter paramedics, and also we had to purchase a couple ambulances. So we hit the streets running, and we never looked back. I think we have some of the finest firefighter paramedics in the state of Florida and throughout the nation. And I think I know this community, and the visitors in this community, God forbid they need EMS services. They need to know that they have the best services certainly available anywhere in this country. And I think the medical director that we have, Dr. Brooke Shepard, unfortunately she's at the ER today, could not make it. And of course my training and also EMS officer, Captain Joe Cable, who basically runs the show for us. So thank you very much, Mayor. We really appreciate it. And thanks to all the guys in the street. You're the best.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. 3, 2, 1.
Alright, I gotta zoom out a little bit. Alright, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
So that concludes our proclamations. I do want to give everybody a kind of an out here if you're not accustomed to coming to our meetings. So the rules of etiquette do allow you to leave when the part of the meeting that addresses you is over. Unless you just want to stay, you're welcome. But I don't want you to hesitate to walk out because you don't want to be that guy. So it is okay. And look, every time I do that, they'll.
You're that guy. You're that guy, Eddie.
Yes, man.
We just saved $50 on air conditioning right there. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the next item on our agenda will be postponed or tabled because we are supposed to, at this point, get a presentation and update from our Centennial Celebration Committee, but the person who was to present that is unable to make it tonight, so we'll have to reschedule that for next meeting or whenever. So. Next item is a Police Pension Board of Trustees appointments. There are two of them. The Police Pension Board of Trustees is established in accordance with the city's Code of Ordinances. 5 members serve on the Police Pension Board of Trustees. The ordinance states that the mayor and a council person may be 2 of those 5. I need a call for nominations for 2 appointments. The current members are myself and Councilmember Schisler. I do want to, I can't speak for Gil on this, but I do want to tell you, if somebody wants to nominate, don't feel like you're going to offend me if you nominate somebody other than me. So I want that out there. So we do need 2 nominations, and then we need to make sure those people are willing to serve, and then we'll have a vote from there.
Can I make both at the same time?
You may.
Okay, I nominate Mayor Andy Ross and Councilmember Gil Schisler.
Second. Do I have to second the nomination? Do you both accept?
Yes. We do. Nominations are still open. Well, I guess that sums that up. Is there a motion to approve the appointment of myself and Councilmember Schisler to the Police Pension Board for a term extending from May 2024 until May 2026?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You're not going to vote no? All right, we are reappointed. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes of our April 16th City Council meeting? And if so, is there a motion to approve?
To approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion, corrections of the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. The minutes are adopted. Next are persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. There are forms in the back of the room for anybody who wishes to address council on items not on the agenda or on the consent agenda. I currently have 3 requests to speak. There is a 3-minute time limit imposed on all comments from the public. We do ask you to approach the podium and state your name and city of residence, please. And the first request I have is from Ms. Coleman. Welcome, Ms. Coleman.
Thank you.
I live in Temple Terrace. I own one of the historic houses which was built in 1924. For anybody who has one of those historic houses, you know that they are very difficult to maintain. So last year I had a leak that cost, by the time we added up all the plumbing bills and the water bills, it was over $2,000. The city was gracious enough to give me a reduction for, I think, for 3 months, although the leak had been going on for longer than that. So then, not too long ago, somebody who, with the city, and I really am very grateful to the worker with the utility department, posted a little note on my door that was on February 20th saying I had high water usage. So after my experience last fall, I said, okay, the first thing I'm going to do is call a sleuth to come out and do the leak detection. So they came out and they found that there was a sprinkler valve on our cottage, which is the former maid's quarters, which was totally unknown to us because we have a well system and have had a well system since we purchased the house in 1978. And so anyway, my last bill was $1,200. I have asked for an adjustment, and I was told that under the city policy, I can only have one adjustment in any calendar year. So the first things I would say is, I don't understand the basis that there would only be one adjustment. I can understand if somebody doesn't fix their leaks, they may not want to get an adjustment. But I have always been right on top of maintaining my house. It's a difficult house to maintain. So my first point is I think that policy needs to be looked at from a reasonable man's standpoint. Was it reasonable? Is it reasonable for us to have to pay $1,200 for a water leak and be charged? I don't know what the percentage is. Probably 80% of that bill is sewage. This water leaked into the ground. So that, to me, is not fair, it's not equitable, and I'm asking the council to consider giving us an adjustment to the bill. There's several different ways it could be done. Knock off the sewage, because we didn't use sewage. Give us an irrigation rate, which is what I think would be most appropriate, because it came from a sprinkler valve that was leaking. And God knows when that sprinkler valve was put in, because we've been in the house since '78. So, and there was a well when we purchased the house. So it's probably been in there, I don't know, 40, 45 years. So there's some different options, but when I sent every one of you all a letter requesting the adjustment. And then I heard from Mr. Baya, and he said, no, that there would be no adjustment. So I'm asking you all to consider my request for an adjustment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Mr. Loeb.
My name is Charles Loeb. I live in Terrace Park, and I want to talk to you about, well, first of all, I want to wish all the mothers happy Mother's Day. But mainly I want to talk to you all about the board meeting yesterday, the HART board meeting. I made a lot of contacts over out there. I talked to someone that does in scheduling, that works with the schedules. I also talked with the union president about a little problem that seems chronic, and I wanted to hear it from the driver's perspective. I also talked rather extensively with Mr. Rodriguez, who was the guy that deals with shelters and stops, and particularly I was talking about stops over on Fowler Avenue, not just over around here, but 30th Street and West. But mainly I went downtown, of course, to try to promote a program that I hope would fiscally help HART. My approach is through the Chamber of Commerce that I want to try. And I'd like to do a survey of, for lack of a better term, types of projects too, that would be good, that might be good fundraisers for HART. And maybe, hopefully, with adjustments into the HART rate millage, and also give ideas to other cities when they come down here 6 months from now, which is a reminder for the Centennial Committee, that if you do want to make a presentation for Temple Terrace, that you have to the other cities to promote the city. You have 6 months. My list includes customized VIP public transit for the affluent, advertising wrap, digital boards which were discussed at the meeting yesterday for advertising, inside cardboard advertising for lost leaders specials that you can see exclusively on the bus, Flamingo Pass lost leaders that would be exclusive for Flamingo Pass riders, and finally what I call family unity fairs, which would be for, well, it's kind of complicated for that. I don't have much time to explain that to you. I did talk to a man who works for Mr. Wellets after the meeting. I did not actually get out to almost about 1 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday. His name was Omar Pizada. I got his phone number and all that. And I'm trying to put together something like the 2050 FDOT survey to see what types of things that the business community would support in order to help create funding for HART without having to go through any other types of adjustment for future fundraising. So I'm going to keep at it. I'm going to keep trying, and hopefully things will work out and will be a benefit to the riders, to HART, and to the nation, local transportation.
Thank you, Mr. Loeb. Mr. McCourty. Good evening, sir.
Mayor Ross, City Council members, citizens of Temple Terrace. My name is John McCourty. I live at 5408 River Hills Drive. With my wife, we purchased our home in 2016. Our house is part of a group of historic mid-century homes along the Hillsborough River. Over the past few years, we, like our neighbors, have worked hard to keep these houses beautiful and in their best condition. This has been a labor of love, money too. We recently learned that the house next door, 5406 River Hills Drive, was sold to an investor. We noticed large amounts of drywall, 2x4s, and oddly doors being brought into the house. This is very unusual activity for a house that was just remodeled to a pristine condition. My neighbors and I came to learn that the house was being reconfigured for use as a 12-person halfway house for recovering substance abuse addicts. We, as well as our neighbors, were very concerned. Our concerns were both safety as well as the negative impact to our property values. Having to disclose this might be a deal breaker in any sale. On April 27th, I joined several of my neighbors and we went to City Hall to voice our concerns. We met with Mr. Michael Sherman, Director of Community Development. We were grateful that after learning of our concerns, someone went to the property and put up a stop work order. The remodeling was apparently being done without the proper permitting. Mr. Sherman indicated he's also investigating the zoning issues of this property and has been in contact with us. His efforts are ongoing and they're appreciated. I have also recently contacted Mayor Ross, who shares our concern and is also investigating. I stand before the City Council today as a record of these concerns. I also stand here to let all the homeowners of Temple Terrace know that there is a chance a halfway house can be put right next door to them, like they're attempting to do to us. I implore our elected officials to intervene and protect myself and my fellow homeowners from this poor use of a residential area. Our reward for being good tax-paying citizens should not be having to suffer for the benefit of a large corporate-style nonprofit NGO. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGordy. Okay, council members, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
I don't have a form. Yep, okay. Well, speak and then, yeah, but yeah, we do need the forms.
Ellen
Welcome.
Snelling, 521 Lantern Circle. And I was not planning to speak tonight, but I did want to say something really quick about something that was just brought up about the halfway house or sober house. And I think, you know, my daughter's getting ready to go into a sober house. Not here, but it's in St. Pete. And I think the reputation may be different than what they're really like, because these are people who are in recovery, who want to not use any drugs, and they've made the proclamation they are not going to use drugs, and that's why they're there. So I don't think they would necessarily be bad neighbors. So I just think it's something to be looked at a little further to see exactly which entities opening it and what type of people will be there. But people in recovery can actually be very good neighbors. I mainly wanted to say something about all the awards that were given tonight, the recognitions for the firefighter of the year, and of course the telecommunications operator, but especially I wanted to talk about Sergeant Tandra, and I'm not going to try to say her last name. She has been such a pleasure to work with as a community member, and I know that's one of the reasons she got the award is how she works with the community. But on behalf of the Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance, I just want to say that we appreciate her so much. There's so many different things we've worked on as far as health fairs and getting word out to the community, parents and students about the dangers of drug abuse and vaping. But she has been just awesome with the prescription drug take-back. And I wanted to announce that back in October, she was able to collect about 40 pounds of medications. And then we doubled it this time, so she got 86 pounds. So, and she just works so hard to try to do the best she can in the community. I just want to say how much I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Snowden. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Consent agenda is adopted. Next is a resolution approving the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ending in September 30th, 2023, including the auditor's management letter. And we have Jim Ingram, our finance director, and Jeff Wolf, our auditor, are both here to explain.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Okay, it's okay. Yes, we are here tonight to present a resolution approving the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2023, including the auditor's management letter. It is recommended that City Council adopt a resolution approving the annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2023, including the auditor's management letter. MSL CPAs and Advisors, the city's auditor, has completed this annual audit. The city's auditor, Jeff Wolf, right here, he's going to present the financial report, and both he and I will be available to respond to any question you might have afterwards. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff to go through. He's got a slide presentation.
Thank you. Good evening. As I always start, I do want to thank the council for allowing us to serve you as your external auditors. We work for you, and we do appreciate that. And I will say MSL is celebrating 50 years of being in business in Florida, so it is a big year for us as well. But with that, I'll get right into it. First, government auditing standards requires us to communicate items to governance, which that self being the council, so I'll do that quickly. First, our responsibility as our auditor is to perform an audit in accordance with the applicable standards and render an opinion on whether those financial statements are materially correct. Management is responsible for preparing the financial statements. It's important, that the act for that large document, that is prepared by management. They're responsible. We do test internal controls over financial reporting and compliance, but that really is just to help plan our audit, meaning if we discovered an issue, we would adjust our audit procedures. But we do not render opinion on those controls, but if we did notice any significant issues, we would communicate that to you in that report. No significant difficulties encountered during the audit. Jim and his staff was great to work with, and very responsive to all our questions and inquiries. No unusual accounting conventions, meaning there's no transactions that were not in accordance with GAAP. There was a new standard that had to be implemented, and it was a pretty significant one. It relates to IT arrangements and how that's recorded. I won't get into the weeds, but it didn't overall have a significant impact on your financial statements, but it was a significant amount of work for staff. They had to review all your IT agreements to determine whether it met the standard or not. So that was a lot of work, and it was implemented properly. As I mentioned, no disagreements with the management on any accounting treatment. No audit adjustments. I think that's always important to note that our audit did not result in any adjustments. So as you get financial information, as you request that information, you can be sure that you're getting reliable information. And lastly, we completed the audit schedule in accordance with our plan and communication. So on to the service and deliverables. First is our independent auditor's report. That is a report on whether your financial statements are materially correct. We had an unmodified opinion. That is the highest level of assurance you can receive. That is a clean opinion that your financial statements are materially correct. Next is a report on internal control and financial reporting. Now, again, this is the one that said that doesn't have an opinion. However, if we did notice any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in controls, we would communicate that, but this report also had no findings, no issues noted. Next is the Auditor General Required Management Letter. This report kind of covers a few areas. First, it requires us to review the financial condition of the city and compare it against other peer cities based on size, population, taxable values, and also looks at trends of the city. And if you remember, maybe 5-6 years ago, we did have comments on financial condition, but those days are long gone. So, the city remains strong financial condition. Also, if we had any other recommendations for consideration, we would have that in this report. But again, this is a clean report, no findings or no issues noted. Lastly is our independence accountant report on compliance with Florida statutes as it relates to investments. And again, there was no findings or no issues noted. So on to some real high-level financial information. So this is the city-wide analysis. This is as if the city was a business, meaning full accrual, long-term capital assets, long-term liabilities. Really, you see, you have the negative unrestricted net position. That really relates to just the pension liabilities and the OPEB liabilities. So, that unrestricted net position as a percentage of total expenses, that negative 63%, that is down. That was 98% last year. So there's definitely an improvement as it relates to that. And then on the business type, that's pretty comparable to last year. It was 13.7% compared to 12.3% in the prior year. The general fund, which is your main operating fund, there's a couple things I just want to point out. Even though it's very consistent, that total liabilities and deferred inflow numbers of $13.6 million. Within that number is $10.8 million of unearned revenue related to the ARPA grants. Just to be clear, I know management is aware, and I'm sure you're aware as well. Those funds have to be obligated by the end of the calendar year. Otherwise, they have to go back. So I just, everybody's well aware, but it's really important, to make sure those funds are obligated by the end of the calendar year. Then it has to be spent by 2026. Also, you had the net change fund balance of $9.4 million compared to $2.7 million last year. Now, a big chunk of that is a one-time transfer of $5.4 million related to a sale of a property. So, that is a significant piece. And as you can see, your unassigned fund balance is very strong as well. Looking at the budget, you're comparing in the general fund, your total revenues and other financing sources was $1.8 million over budget, and most of that really results around the investment income having a conservative budget approach for investments. But as the interest rates change, you generate more investment income. On the expenditure side, you were $7.6 million under budget. Now, a lot of that is related to that one-time transfer, that sale of property that increased the budget to record the revenue by $5 million. So a lot of that savings is related to those projects that just haven't taken place yet. But overall, that resulted in a net change in fund balance of $9.4 million. Lastly, your enterprise funds, pretty comparable to prior year. Just going down to the operating income, the water and sewer fund did generate a profit of $0.6 million compared to 0.4 million. The sanitation fund did operate as a loss at 0.4 million compared to 0.3 in the prior year. But in discussions, we've already been told that that fund has shown significant progress in fiscal year 24, but that is something we will also be reviewing in next year's audit. So with that, that's really all I planned on covering. If there's any questions on the audit procedures or any of the reports, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions for you.
Council, questions? Councilmember Fernandez.
As part of your business evaluation through the audit, do you look at benchmarks and best practices for comparable cities?
Well, as it relates to financial condition, we certainly do. The Auditor General requires that, and that's where they actually have a checklist that has benchmarks compared to other cities, like I said, in your peer group. And we are required to evaluate every year to see, how you do against those benchmarks, and also how you are trending to your, a 5-year trend analysis.
So when we get your audit report here at this level, it's a higher level, not very detailed necessarily at this meeting. But when you look at those benchmarks and you're looking at the checklist that you're going through, you communicate that to the staff, correct?
Certainly, yeah. I mean, we have an exit conference with the audit committee as well, where we go over some additional information in more detail than that's what's presented here. But anytime, throughout the year, we're always available for any questions that may come up. So that kind of conversation really occurs all year round. But yeah, there's certainly more communication that goes on than what you hear today, more detail. But I mean, again, we're doing a financial audit. We're not doing a performance audit overall on the city. So, our main goal is really the financial audit. But, with our experience with other municipalities, if we do see things, based on what we're seeing throughout, the state, we certainly communicate that as well.
Thank you.
Questions? Councilmember Schisler.
Point of clarification before they get away. Oftentimes, for my colleagues, oftentimes you've heard me ask Jim, what's Jeff say? This is Jeff. So this is a good resource for the city.
Question. I have a question, and don't even know if I need an answer right now, but unless you have it, because this is not meant as a gotcha. But we lost 0.4 million in sanitation in 23. So we've implemented some increases in fees, and we've got a new public works director, so we've cleaned up some efficiencies also. We're 7 months into this budget. Are we tracking to be at the break-even point this year, or are we are we tracking to come in above, below? I mean, how's that tracking? And if you don't know, that's okay. You're here to present a report, not to answer that. But if you don't know the answer to that, could we get that? I mean, just so we don't get to October and say, oh, we came in 300,000 off, or did we fix the problem, or we raise it? I mean.
Well, halfway through the year, and you have the second quarter report, we are doing well. We're actually, if you look at the report, our cash income revenue over expenditures is $1 million for the first half of the year. Now, half of that was the transfer we made to pay for new trucks. So, but even $500,000 is a lot better than what we have been doing. You'll see that our revenues are coming in 52% of budget, which is good. I don't think we could have said that last year. We are doing much better in tightening up some of those expenditures. And again, I'll have to credit Mr. Warren Feltz, our new director. He's done a really great job with that. So right now, the trends are very favorable. Of course, we still have another half year to go, but I've been very, very pleased with so far the track that we're on.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, council?
I just have one comment.
Yes.
Well, my comment is just,
Well, questions? Or we haven't got to comments
no,
yet?
that's why I say I just have a comment.
Okay. City manager, I'll give. Okay. Okay, do we have a motion and then we'll open it for discussions?
I mean, I'll make the motion if it's appropriate, even though it's in the audit committee.
I don't think that's a conflict, is it?
I make a motion that we approve the comprehensive financial report as submitted.
I'll second.
Councilmember Fernandez.
Well, so my comment is, thank you to our finance staff, because I think you all have been very transparent with the city council and the city management and in helping us know what's going on financially in the city. And then I also want to say, thank you for providing a hard copy of the report, because I know everything is so digital, but it's a lot easier to reference a hard copy. So those are my only comments.
Thank you. City manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I've actually been a council member. Fernandez beat me to it. I just wanted to recognize Finance Director Ingram and Assistant Finance Director Newman. They worked probably 60 to 70-hour weeks for the last 2 months trying to get this audit done. And so, I mean, they're very dedicated to making sure they provide the most quality that they can to this organization. So I just want to make sure that people recognize that.
Thank you. Council members, comments? I too want to say thank you to you and your staff. I don't think Wood City has ever had a most improved department award, but if we did, you guys would be a shoo-in for that. You have really turned that place around, and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. So thank you for that, and thank you for your help and guidance coming in and putting new eyes on that too. So thank you. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No nays. The audit is accepted. Next is a resolution approving the proposal for the fire department's emergency operations center renovations within the existing administrative fire station 1 design. And our fire chief Ian Kemp is here to explain.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Ian Kemp, your fire chief. Before you is a resolution approving the contract with Applied Sciences for professional services for the city's emergency operations center and Fire Station 1, approving payment of up to $447,976 with funds from account 001-152-522.62-41. The City of Temple Terrace Fire Department has received state appropriations grant for the design and permitting and construction of a planned emergency operations center. The EOC is currently planned to be co-located with Fire Station 1 on Temple Terrace Highway, Bullard Parkway rather, with planned renovations for the fire station during the process. The city requires assistance of Applied Sciences and Wilder Architect to aid with professional services for the project, management, design, permitting, and preparation of construction bid documents for the planned EOC. The fire department staff recommends the city council approve a contract for the fire department's emergency operations center and renovations within the existing administration of Fire Station 1.
Thank you, Chief. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Council members, are there questions? Yes, Councilmember Fernandez.
So we're just beginning the process, and these funds were appropriated by the state. Is there a deadline? What time frame are we operating under?
City manager and I were just talking about that. I can't remember the exact date.
This building needs to be constructed and open for use by February 28th of 2027.
Okay, so we're fine with this time frame.
I don't want to get too comfortable because construction takes a while. Everything takes longer than anticipated. It's a tight time frame, but we're going to work to get it to meet the time frame. We have no choice really. So
This is the first step. This is basically hiring the architectural firm. Yep. And we're going to hopefully start moving fairly quick.
Other questions? Is there a motion?
Move to approve the resolution
approving the proposal for the fire department's emergency operations center and renovations within the existing administration fire station 1 design.
Second.
Any discussion of the motion? I do have a comment. It has to do with the time frame also. I mean, we're here. We can't roll back the clock, but I'm nervous about this time frame. This is a little tight for my, last thing in the world I want to do is give back $4.5 million to the state of Florida.
Yeah.
Because we'll never get it again.
This process has taken longer than I would have liked. However, I have talked to the individual that's my contact at Applied Science, and he feels that we should be able to build this and get it completed
Is there,
in plenty of time.
I probably know the answer to this, but I'm looking for opportunities. Is there any steps in this process that we can do concurrently to, or does everything have to be done consecutive to the previous step?
So the benefit we have is a lot of the delays in projects like this is the approvals, the land use approvals, those kind of things. And we have some control over that because it's our staff. So actually on tomorrow's department director agenda, one of the things we're going to talk about is this project to make sure that everybody understands the urgency to move this along as quickly as possible. 'Cause
Yeah.
we cannot afford any delay really.
Yeah, we might have to go with the cheaper doorknobs or something if it's, we can't, yes, Councilmember Chambers.
Piggyback, and I should know, but I apologize. This is not design build, this is design. And then we go out on bid for the contractor.
That's correct.
Okay, that just adds some time.
Yes.
They can do it.
Other comments? Very good. Thank you very much, Chief. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Next is a resolution adopting subdivision plat SP 23-03 for property located south of East 113th Avenue and west of 53rd Street and east of 52nd Street. Miranda Anaya, our city planner, is here to explain. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, and good evening, City Council. Okay, this item is to approve subdivision plat SP 2303, Chapters Health Systems by resolution. The subject property is approximately 5.22 acres located at 11150 North 53rd Street. The proposed plat subdivides the property into two lots. Lot 1, which is on the west side, comprises of approximately 2.99 acres, and Lot 2 on the east, comprising of 2.23 acres. This will be a replat of the original plat, plat book page 25, page 58, and will be renamed as Temple Terrace as a replat. Here's the boundary survey, which is how the site is currently existing. The existing use of this site is a nursing home with administrative office. The zoning district of the property is educational institutional. The nursing home is allowed in EI. However, the administrative office is not allowed as a standalone use. It has to be associated with the nursing home. With the proposed subdivision, the owner will need to propose a use that will be allowed in EI or change the zoning and perhaps the land use as well. But going back to the plat itself, the DRC had no objections and staff recommends approval of the adoption of the resolution for SP 2303.
Thank you, Ms. Anaya. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this? See somebody?
This is the applicant.
Oh, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Thank you. Isabel Albert with HAF. I'm here representing the applicant. She did an excellent job presenting the request, and I'm here if you have any questions.
Very good. So usually we take public comment and then you get an opportunity to, but I don't know if anybody's going to, are there members of the public who wish to comment on this? Okay. I do have a couple of related questions and I don't know who wants to answer. Well, council questions. Councilmember Fernandez.
So right now, I'm trying to envision the property, what's on it. And I know that Hospice House is on it, and that's a large building. And then on the second lot, there is a building, isn't there? That's the administrative building. Okay, so that building could remain, or someone could tear it down if they want, but that has to have, if, for that to be used as a separate lot, does it have to be a different use? Or if it's still the administrative building for the hospice house, does that mean that it can still be used as an administrative building?
Do you want to start answering?
Go ahead.
Well, the
Because you said it's not a use standalone.
so this case has been going on for a very long time. So my recollection was that if it was going to be a standalone use, the use would have to comply with the zoning district. And so the next step, and I think they were going to convert it to a use that was permitted there.
Okay, so if it, with this change in plat, if that building remained the administrative office for the hospice, is that an acceptable use? Or does it, if it's replatted, it can't be an administrative office at all?
It goes by the site. So if the site development plan shows that both properties are owned by the same owner, and as part of the same site, then no, technically. But I believe the applicant or the owner would like to sell off the lot and for it to be another use. So we know that at this point. If it was to remain an office, they would have to change the zoning.
Okay, so what we're looking at is, if we approve this plat, it can't stay in the current use that it has.
Correct. It would have to comply, like she says, the split is basically for a sell-off, and whoever purchases will have, and I believe that the use was, the proposed use was permitted in the zoning that's in it right now. This is just a process to go to the next step.
Okay.
Good. So what are you doing? You're going to move the administrative offices. You're going to keep the nursing home facility open. You're going to move your administrative offices out of there and sell off the second part.
The
right?
idea is to sell off the second portion.
Okay.
And whoever comes in will have to do the use that's permitted under that zoning district.
Okay. And you're going to put your administrative offices somewhere else.
They haven't shared that with me.
Okay.
Just said,
That just won't be there.
sorry?
It just won't be there. It'll
It
be.
won't be there, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, good.
Well, then where's the educational facility going?
What is the education?
Where are they putting that?
They haven't shared that.
They haven't shared that. Because is it vacant now? Or is it,
like I say, this has been going on for over a year. I think they're still there. We're just trying to get through this process. Yes.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions? Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve the resolution adopting subdivision plat SP 23-03 for the property located south of East 113th Avenue and west of 53rd and east of 52nd Street.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion of the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no nays. Resolution's adopted. So, City Attorney, help me out with this next one. So, do we need to open?
Almost got away. She almost got away.
Well, you want to, I'll ask Ernie, that's okay. The next one, do we need to open the public hearing and go through the whole hearing and then?
Yes.
And then vote on a continuance in the open hearing?
Yes, it was
Okay.
continued to this date certain, so you need to open the public hearing, and then Miranda will.
Microphone.
Flashing at me. You need to open the public hearing, and then Miranda will present a request for a
Okay,
continuance.
because there's public comment in the public hearing also. So we would
yes.
take that, we would accept that.
However, the discussion will only be about the continuance,
Right, not the merits of
not the merits of the matter.
Okay, very good, thank you. Okay, next item is a request for continuance. We're going to open the first public hearing and first reading of an ordinance adopting a rezoning of folio number 037-534-0000, with an address of 10024 Davis Road and unknown address folio number 037-531-5000. City Planner Miranda Anaya is here to explain. And just for everybody's edification, we are going to open the public hearing. We do have public comment, but we're not discussing the merits. We're just discussing the continuance. So the subject of our discussion will be limited. Okay.
Yeah, so this item is for rezoning application RZP 2302, addressed as 10024 Davis Road. The applicant is requesting a continuance. The application was continued to the May 7th hearing, which is today, at the March 19th, 2024 public hearing, and was also addressed at the last council meeting. The applicant has been working with staff to address the council's concerns about the 40-foot wide lots and the other concerns council had. The applicant needs more time to work on the master plan and the elevations, and has requested a continuance to a later date. The applicant is also here if you have any questions for him. And other than that, staff recommends a continuance until a revised application can be submitted to the city and a public hearing can be advertised in accordance to the LDC requirements in Florida statute.
Thank you, Ms. Anaya. I do have a public comment request from Mr. Patterson. Good evening, Mr. Patterson.
Thank you very much. As you know, my neighbors and my friends on Todd's Terrace really didn't particularly like this project, and I hate being a NIMBY person, but I guess I am right now. However, my wife at the last meeting suggested, wouldn't it be really nice if that property was a park? Because there isn't anything for parks on the east side of the Hillsborough River for Temple Terrace. And there is some land at the end of Inca Drive that's owned by Temple Terrace that Temple Terrace could sell to the developer. It's already in a affordable housing area. Inca Drive has a lot of duplexes on it, and the road goes in there, and it could also maybe, instead of being a cul-de-sac, it could actually make a turn into Bullard Parkway, and then Temple Terrace could use the money from selling that land to develop a park. That's what I'd like to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. The applicant is here. Anything to add? Not sure who the applicant is. I'm assuming it's you. Nothing to add? Nothing to add. Okay, very good. Council members, is there a motion? Do you have any questions? I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Councilmember Fernandez.
Does this, when we are discussing the continuance, we don't have a date certain, so can we just move to continue it until the application is ready?
It's a good question. One thing for sure is, since we won't have a date certain, there is definitely it's going to have to be renoticed. So at that time, but I take it, you guys want to keep it on the agenda and just have them, or should we remand it back?
Yeah, we'd like to extend it to a later date. However, I've been working with the applicant. He thinks he has the second meeting in June as an idea, but we don't want to commit to that until he knows he has his elevations and site plan ready to submit. So it's to a later date, but it most likely would be at the end of June.
Right, I mean, the issue is we're not going to have a date certain, and what you're going to be doing is then moving to continue this case until a meeting in the future.
We could do the second meeting in June, and if he needs to come back and ask for a continuance again, we can also do that if that makes it easier.
Well, and that would eliminate a need to do any type of public notice, but of course you'll have to update the sign and everything else.
He's shaking his head, so.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yes, so it looks like we might have a date now, so whoever's making a motion.
Okay. Other questions? Councilmember Fernandez, would you like to make that motion?
Yeah, so I move that we request a continuance of first public hearing and first reading of an ordinance adopting a rezoning of folio number 037534-0000 with an address of 10024 Davis Road and unknown address, folio number 037531-5000 to June
June
18th, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion of the motion?
And so I guess if the applicant is not ready at that time, then we would just go through the same procedure that we're going through right now.
Correct.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Continuance is granted. Thank you. Next is council business. Any carryover council business? Councilmember Abel.
I've heard from some people in the community about, I guess there are rumors that are spreading about our plans for affordable housing in the city. And I think the origins for this information originated from that March 19th meeting where Councilmember Schisler inquired about the comprehensive plan, saying that there were like a plan for 7,500 units of affordable housing in the city. And if I recall, we questioned that because there's only about 4,000 something homesteaded properties in the city. So we were wondering, where would we put that much affordable housing? And as an advocate of affordable housing, of course, I think affordable housing is great, but not if we don't have any room for it. So I was hoping that community development could provide some clarity for us about some of those concerns about where those numbers arrived from, and maybe a little more detail just for our own edification and also for the public so people aren't confused.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mr. Sherman, welcome.
So, Mike Sherman, Community Development Director. So, as the council knows, there's the two major parts of a comprehensive plan is the data and analysis section, and then there's the goals, objectives, and policies. And both sections of our comprehensive plan address housing and affordable housing, as well as affordable housing for low-income individuals and families and the elderly and people with special needs. So in the data and analysis section of the comprehensive plan, there is a section or subsection that's called adequate housing for lower income groups. And in there is a 1-2 sentences that talks about it, and I'm going to read it for the record so everybody can hear it. It says the projected need for housing affordable to lower income groups between 2015 and 2040 is 2,974 units. This represents approximately 40% of the anticipated need for a total of 7,435 units to meet the City of Temple Terrace's projected growth during that period. And then there is an implementing goal and an implementing objective. And the housing goal says provide a variety of adequate housing in order to serve the community's population in an orderly fashion and promote the vision of Temple Terrace. The objective says provide opportunities for the private sector to provide 7,435 new dwelling units of various types, sizes, and costs by 2040 to meet the projected growth in the number of the city's households, and including housing opportunities for low and moderate income households. Now, the number 2,900 and 7,400, I had a discussion with the Planning Commission staff, and they're the folks who put together this information for us. And we asked them where that came from. And they said they weren't sure where that came from. There was nobody who is working with us now that helped prepare this section of the comprehensive plan, the data and analysis, or put those numbers in for the objectives and the goal. So what that tells us is that one of many things we need to do is look at the data and analysis section of our comprehensive plan. But in this instance, we had started a discussion with the Planning Council and asked them, can they help us through analysis of existing data, what the housing projection would be through the planning horizon, which is 2040, and what percentage of that should be for affordable housing. And they said they would help us with that. And then they're also going to help us when we open up and from like a 30-foot view of our comprehensive plan in 2025. So those numbers that we have now need to be re-looked at, and we'll be moving towards getting appropriate numbers for both sections of the comp plan. And I can try and answer any questions that the council may have.
Council members, questions? Yes.
First, thank you for the follow-up on that. getting numbers that make sense and are reasonable, I think is really important. But I was also wondering about the significance of the comprehensive plan and how that works with how we make decisions about the future of the city. So, for example, if something's in the comprehensive plan, how does that pan out in actually bringing that to fruition?
So in the goals, objectives, and policies, the comprehensive plan, you'll see the strategy and the policies and the growth plan for the city of Temple Terrace. And it has a number of elements in it. I think there's 9 elements, and each one of those have maps to associate and support those. And in land use, everybody's familiar with the future land use map. So what that does is that should guide all policies, all directives, all programs as it relates to land use and planning and growth management in the city. It's like the guidebook, and it needs to be an evolving document. And that's why, as the council member a year or so ago, we made a minor change with the evaluation and appraisal report. We looked at to make sure that we were up to date with all the law changes, and we were. We had made the appropriate changes. And I think it's getting near time where we take a real, like 10,000, 30,000 foot view of our comprehensive plan, as well as what's in the data and analysis. Last time we did that was 2016. So some of that data is pretty old.
Like before the recession and that kind of
Yes,
thing?
ma'am, things have changed.
Cool. Well, thank you for that information and the follow-up. That's all I have.
Other questions? I do, Mr. Sherman, you might have said this, but maybe I missed it, I don't know. So when was that number regarding that section with the numbers that you cited, was that part of the original plan when it was drafted, or was that one of the previous updates? Do you know when those numbers were plugged into that?
That is in the Imagine Temple Terrace comprehensive plan that was adopted in 2016.
2016. But that wasn't the original version of that plan, was it?
No, that was done in 2016. The original version came out probably in 1989 after the 85 Growth Management Act. In fact, probably there was one previous to that in the 75 Act. So this thing is continually involved. But the last major update was in 2016.
But the world, I mean, you can't do everything all at once, but I mean, we don't live in the same economy that we lived in 2016. Everything is different. I mean, COVID, employment changes, growth in the region, housing, transportation. I mean, 2016 might as well be 50 years ago in today's world. So yeah, I was kind of concerned about those numbers too. I don't know how we didn't. Of course, I've got other issues with that plan too. I mean, there's stuff in there that, you know, we'll get things before us sometimes that we'll say, wait a minute, and they say, well, it's consistent with the plan. Well, okay, you can go through and cherry pick 5 things that it's consistent with, and I can go in and cherry pick 5 provisions that it's not consistent with. So, you know, I don't know. So.
To get to those numbers through infill development and even annexation would be really difficult.
Yeah, we don't have room for that. I mean, that we'd have to significantly grow the footprint of the city or increase the density of the city by 3 times. I mean, that number's not even close to being realistic. Okay.
If I could offer one more comment on this without beating this to death. Part of the misconception is the ADU or the land use ordinance. That's being misconstrued to meaning we want to allow a whole bunch of affordable units to be built in the back, on the top, and the side, so that we can meet that 76 or 7,400 unit number. So I think that's the land use change for the ADUs is feeding that rumor mill, if you will, and it's not the case. And we need to make sure that the public understands that going forward.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think just to reiterate, we work at the direction of the City Council. City Council has never given us any direction to look to create 7,500 units of affordable housing. It is, I think Mr. Sherman was being generous. It's impossible. It's not even, it'd be tough. It'd be impossible. This community wouldn't be this community. I think we all recognize that now. I don't know what people were thinking in probably 2014 or 2015 when they were preparing the comp plan. I can tell you that from experience with another community where I previously worked, it's not uncommon when you're making a projection for decades out to miss your mark. You're thinking that the economy is going to be a certain way, numbers are going to keep increasing at a certain pace, and then something happens. The Great Recession might happen, or the pandemic happens, and it changes the factors. And then you look at it with new eyes, and you're just like, there's no possible way we would get there, or we're going to be 30 years behind that target. So, again, to reinforce the fact, the city, we are not moving in any direction with that target. That target means nothing to us, just to be clear.
Any final comments? Okay, thank you. We're still on carryover council business. Anything else? New business, board reports. New business, guys.
It's not really a board report, but it is about the library board. Earlier tonight, we approved a consent agenda for the interlocal agreement with library services. And I just want to tell you, I wanted to thank the county because they provide us with a lot of dollars, computer services and circulation items that supports our library. Now, county residents get to use our library, but it's just a big deal. We get a lot of support for the county, so thank you for them.
Thank you. Other new business?
Would it be appropriate to bring up anything regarding the sober house at this point, or is that something that we want to?
Well, were you going to, on city managers or report, are you going to talk about that, or would you rather it go now?
I can give you an update as to where we stand as of this afternoon.
That'd be helpful.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have looked at this issue. There is, and I'll defer to the deputy city attorney for some of this, but there's some, as the gentleman mentioned when he spoke publicly in the public comment section, that we looked at this, we looked at the zoning. There's some case law that precludes our enforcement of the zoning the way we typically would enforce the zoning. There's some additional case law out there that we also looked at in terms of, is it a use that would fall into different categories? For example, is it a rooming house use, for example, which we could make the argument that it might be. There is case law out of U.S. District Court of Appeals that was very similar to what we're looking at here, that is basically dictated that, in fact, we may not be able to apply that same standard. You have to stop me if I'm speaking incorrectly here. So right now, we are still looking at it. I just don't want to give anybody the illusion that we have all these tools at our disposal to change the course of what's happening. We're continuing to look, but right now, the typical instruments we would use are not playing out.
Totally, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I totally agree with the city manager. We're still looking at some of the legalities, but we are going to be, the law out there is going to limit us zoning-wise. But life safety code and perhaps building code, things like that, we're looking into to see what we are able to regulate and what we're not.
Well, I understand. It's one of those situations where I see both sides. I understand the need for the halfway house, and understand the residents' concern as to the potential impact to their property values or the ability to sell. But what was disconcerting to me was and I believe it was stated at the beginning, that the people that were doing this had no permits. And they had done this, they were doing this outside of the zone, outside of the permitting process. And that bothers me. That gives me pause as to their motives, and were they willing to come forward to the city to begin with? Were they concerned that they were going to be met with some kind of negative backlash or something like that? And I don't know that they would or wouldn't. Again, we don't, they weren't forthright in their project, I think. So, but I don't know if we're in a position we need to do anything or at this point. So thank you for the clarification.
Councilmember Fernandez.
So I have a question for you about essentially multifamily housing in an area that's single-family residential. Is that, how is that possible to have, I mean, I haven't formed an opinion one way or the other on the specific use, but I don't understand how, if you have, it's a neighborhood, it's zoned for single-family homes, we don't have any multifamily homes in that area, how can we put a multifamily home?
So I'll give you what I think would be my position as the manager. The deputy city attorney is going to give you the position of what the law will dictate. I think as the manager, I agree with you. I think it is an odd case. I think the neighbors their observations are pretty accurate. I mean, we have a single-family zoning district. You'd expect that to be a single-family home and used as a single-family home. In this case, that's not the plan. We've had long conversations, the attorney and myself, about this. And he's been explaining to me all this case law that's out there and that's really governing this. And so that's where, I don't want to say our hands are tied specifically, but we're limited in what we can
Is it, I mean, are limitations specifically because of the proposed use? Because if somebody came in and wanted to tear down that house, or if it was large enough and they wanted to remodel it and turn it into a bunch of apartments, I don't think we wouldn't be required to allow that. So is this because of the proposed use?
The big thing, I think, controlling the case law on this is how this type of a home is to be treated. Their business plan, by and large, is that they are a family and they are to be treated as a single family that's in there. And that is what's creating some of our restrictions. They also fall under the Fair Housing Act and the ADA, which finds them, considers them to have disabilities, which means we have to provide accommodations, reasonable accommodations. So these are all the things we have to weigh. They do have to come to us and talk to us about what they're doing, and we, each thing is kind of circumstant, case by case, as far as accommodations that we may have to provide them. So I think we're just looking to keep a dialogue going, or trying to get a dialogue started with this place.
Done? Okay, Councilmember Chambers.
Okay, there was a stop work order given. Do they have the proper permits now?
I am unaware of that.
Ask Mr. Sherman to come up.
Good evening. I do not believe any permits have been issued. They have submitted plans and it's going through plan review.
Okay.
Last I heard, there were some issues with the way things were laid out and meeting the building code. Mr. Foss is, I think, doing the review.
Okay, so with this, since it's multifamily, well, one family, multi-rooms, fire codes, that kicks it to a different level than a normal home, things like that?
I'm not sure. I think that's kind of what Mr. Mueller was saying, being viewed possibly as a single-family home. If it's a single-family home, they're under the same laws that if I had 6 or 7 people living with me in my house.
So it wouldn't fall under rental
I don't believe
codes?
so, but again, that's Mr. Mueller.
Okay, thank you.
Most of this has already been said, but I read the federal appellate court case. It's like 24 pages long. It's not an easy read. And it was West Haven, Connecticut, I think it was. Interesting, the facts, at least, I mean, I'm a layman, I'm not an attorney, but it looks to me like the fact set is almost the exact same fact set as what we're faced with here. I don't see any difference. And also of significance is not only does this company know of this, they were party to this, the same people that were party to that federal appeals case. So they know full well what the federal courts have already ruled on in this. So the difference, I mean, I don't know what other cases you've read. I've only read the one, but I guess the issue at hand would be to try to find where our situation is different than the one in West Haven, and is that substantive enough differences to make that case not fit our circumstances. But I got to tell you, just a casual reading, well, I'm more than a casual, I spent a while with it, but just a reading of that from a layman's perspective, I'm like, well, it's all laid out right here. Here's the court argument. It's very specific. So I don't know what we're going to be able to do with that. Okay. We're still on new business and board reports. Anything else? New business. Okay. City manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In your backup, this evening, you have several reports. You have our quarterly report on the purchases between 35,000 and 50,000. You also have 4 additional documents. We update the quarterly report on the council's fiscal year priorities, on the department's budget goals, on the financials, which Mr. Ingram mentioned earlier, as well as the quarterly report on the ARPA and the capital projects to answer some of those questions about timing and where we are with some of those things. So there's a lot to read in here. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about them.
Councilmember Sisler.
I do. Yes, thank you for the ARPA and the CIP update. I appreciate that. That was a lot of good information. But I do have a question for Mr. Tinch, if I may, and a comment. I noticed on a couple, I'm glad that the major projects are moving along, but I noticed that you had to switch gears on a couple of the projects where you had to change vendors or suppliers in midstream.
That's correct. Excuse me. We had to change our engineering team up on a couple of our stormwater projects that were going through design. We did not feel like the engineering team was meeting the criteria we set forth in scheduling. So they fell behind. We had a couple of meetings with them to try and get them back on track. It was not necessarily working, so we decided to go a different route. So we pulled the projects from that particular team and moved it to a new team, and we were back on schedule.
Was this part of any kind of bid work, any bid procedures that we had to follow? My point is there anything that we can do with procurement manuals or rules or anything to make that easier so that you don't have to cross that bridge again in the future with this type of project?
No, I mean, contractually, we have those rights. The contract lays out quite clearly that if you don't meet design standards, if you don't meet scheduling, if we're unhappy with the work product at a certain point, we have the right to end that contract. And then we simply moved that effort over to another firm. And because the dollar amount that it was going to take us to finish that out was below the threshold of the 50,000, so we were able to get that moved into the new engineering firm without having to bring it back before council for that approval. So that was very helpful.
Was there significant loss of time or traction in the project?
No, not at all. We quite seamlessly transferred all the documentation from one firm to the other, and the new engineering firms picked that up and are moving quite rapidly with it.
Kudos to your
Very
staff.
happy.
Kudos to you and your staff for picking that up and catching that and being able to transition quickly, because that could get ugly real quick. Thank you. That's my comment.
We are very aware of the pending dates.
Yeah.
And we are on target to hit all those dates.
Thank you.
While you're standing there, Mr. Tinch, I'm kind of nervous about this ARPA date. You confident we're going to make this?
I'm very confident we're going to make this. So
when are we going to turn dirt?
So we don't actually have to turn dirt, if you will. We just have to have those funds secured. So as you're aware, as I put in the update, the biggest project, the $7 million project, the Utility Service Center, that's currently out to bid. It's currently out for an RFQ, request for qualifications. That's due in towards the end of this month, May 22nd. We have about 10 days to review that short list of firms, and then we will have presentations on the 14th of June, final decision on the 17th. Once that final determination is made, we will then put that on the agenda, probably sometime maybe the second week in July. And we'll bring that to council. We will secure the $7 million as a design build procurement process, in which we will say we're going to go through the design, finish out the design, go into construction, and this is the dollar amount we're not going to exceed. And that's how we will have that set up.
So the building doesn't have to be CO'd by 26?
No, sir.
Okay, that gives me
Well, the building has to be CO'd, yes. It needs to be CO'd by the end of 2026.
Sorry, so let me just clarify. Thank you, Mr. Chinch. So we have to basically officially encumber those dollars for the ARPA dollars, and that's the process he's talking about. Once we hire the firm for the design build, we've met the first criteria, which is to encumber before the end of this calendar year. And then we have the next obstacle is making sure the thing gets built basically built and CO'd, ready to be occupied by December 31st of 2026.
That's the part I'm worried about. It's
Right.
not all that's the part. I mean,
So-
everything's taken forever now.
So if I could maybe speak to that part, we are sitting at 35% design, and actually, when we had an engineering firm look at our design, they think it's actually more towards 50. So we're pretty far along in the design process. So what we have to do then is take that design where we are to date, finish that out, and then start the construction process. While they're going through that design, the nice thing about this design build is they can start pre-ordering some of these long lead time items that we may have, materials. So that will help shorten that window for construction. I would not be surprised if we don't see some earth turned at the very first of 2025.
That's what I'm thinking, and that just,
Yep.
I won't beat the horse to death, but I have the same concerns with both these projects, is we got a clock ticking, and stuff that should take 18 months to build is now taking 3 years.
Well, the one thing I can tell you is we're going to work very diligently to make sure that that does not happen.
Okay. Thank you, sir. City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The final thing I'd like to mention this evening is the city will be hosting the annual Regional Law Enforcement K-9 Memorial on Friday, May 17th, just right outside the entrance here to City Hall at 8:30 in the morning. And for the public, or the people here in the audience, this is an event that honors all the canines who have served throughout the state of Florida. And we will be adding 29 law enforcement canine memorial bricks to the monument right outside in the parking area of City Hall. So welcome everyone to attend on Friday the 17th at 8:30. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. B. I have one thing about the city manager's report I'd like you guys to ponder. A while back, we raised the city manager's spending threshold from $35,000 to $50,000. Remember that? We had a lot of discussion about that. I'd like the council to consider taking off this quarterly report. That when we did it, we wanted to see, okay, what kind of stuff are we doing? And because it was new territory for us. But what we're finding now after some time is that this is a pretty vanilla report. It's kind of innocuous, and most cities are way over 50,000 threshold already. We were kind of behind the times in going to 50,000, but most people are way above that. It doesn't seem like a big deal to us, but it's another report on our staff. And our staff's going like 150 miles an hour right now. They've got building projects, we've got RFQs out, we've got RFPs, we need a new finance system software, we've got buildings going up, we've got parks, pedestrian master plans, bike trails. We have loaded these folks up. And so while it's only one report, it seems pretty easy to report. By the time everybody touches that has to touch that, I bet we've got several staff hours in just pulling that out. So if you would just think about it, I'm trying to go through stuff that, okay, this made sense at the time, but maybe we could drop this and it's an additional burden we could take away from them since we've given them more.
Well, since I'm the one that beat the drum on this report to begin with, I'm perfectly willing to make that concession. I'm comfortable with the way we're handling it. Staff has been very diligent in spending the money wisely, and in the interim, I could do without the report.
Is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
Is that
Yes.
okay with you guys?
Yes.
Is there any reason why we shouldn't make your life a little bit easier?
No, he wants the extra.
Yeah, no,
Just
I mean,
hurt me. I
obviously,
agree.
we get any information we want. All we have to
Sure.
do is ask for it. So if there's if there's something in the future we want to know about, we just ask.
Right, no, we appreciate that, and we were happy to do it, but we appreciate not having to do one of these. Sure. Thank you.
And Mayor, are you looking to do that tonight or to do away with it?
Oh, well, I think, are we ready? Is it okay to do it tonight?
Yeah, let's do it tonight.
You need a motion?
Need a motion?
It would be a council action.
I move to suspend the the quarterly interim reporting on the, what do they call it, the purchases between 35 and 50K.
Second.
Is there discussion of the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays? Thank you, Gil. That's it? City Attorney's report.
Nothing, Mayor.
Nothing. Okay. Council, anything? Directors? You just want to go home. Thank you again for all you do. Thanks for those of you who helped out with the mayor for a day and the police chief for a day. We appreciate you taking the time with that. So, and we will be adjourned.